Egypt was never taught about the Americas. What's going on in America? The old pyramids, stuff predates Egyptian time. Maybe a lot of people say, well, I'm talking, it ain't true. If you do your research, you pull it up, it is true. You know, a lot of things that people don't do no research on because they ain't heard about it, they think it ain't real. Now you got places, now you can look and see some of the landscapes in America. Look at that. That's in Asia. Maybe this is Africa. That's in different places. A lot of nice places out there, but they don't show you these places on there you see, even in some of the new movies they got out here, they don't still don't show you. They put their history on TV on every day. You see what I'm saying? Now, we like saying, okay, well, we like, oh, they didn't teach us that in school. We got this place called Poverty Point, Louisiana. Poverty Point, Louisiana. Poverty Point. Poverty Point, Louisiana. Poverty Point. Poverty Point, Louisiana. You got places like this out in Louisiana been around. I'm just saying. People say, well, you lying. You don't know what you're talking about. How? These places don't exist. They do. You know, you just ain't been, you've been to LSU campus. You sitting on an Indian mound. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look at these places. How long they've been around. They're there right now. You can visit these sites. You can visit these sites. This is going on right now. This ain't teachers now. I can't see why none of the pastors ain't teaching about none of this. Because look, from the 1600s all the way down, they've been lying to us. People crowded us. They crowded us out. And they go all the way down, just like the dude said the other day. People ain't listening. He said Athens. He said Athens. I said, what are you talking about? He's talking about the Battle of Marathon. You know what I'm saying? You gotta check it out for yourself. Because when you pull up they put a copyright strike on you on some of this stuff. But if you can see right here, a lot of these places, they've been around for a lot of years. Been around a lot of years. And people ain't even knowing nothing about it. These places. Hold on a second here.
Older than Stonehenge, as ancient as some of Egypt's pyramids. Poverty Point, hidden in Louisiana, whispers of a forgotten past and a serpent's path carved into the land. Built between 1700 and 1100 BCE, this sacred site holds 6 massive ridges in Mound A, shaped like a bird. Or perhaps a coiled serpent. Artifacts link it to trade networks.
See now, way back to BC time. Now, that's way before Christopher Columbus came on this side of town. You see what I'm saying? And then you shocked. Oh, the man said he discovered America. He discovered it had people in America. in his diaries. But then never you didn't see no videos or no movies about Poverty Point or on a commercial. Hey, check out Poverty Point.
Works reaching the Gulf Coast, Appalachian Mountains, and Great Lakes. Some believe it connects energetically to the Serpent Mound in Ohio, forming a cosmic body of earth and sky. Over 30 million pounds of earth were moved by hand using only animal hide bags and baskets. No metal tools, no wheels, no beasts of burden. Though they were hunter-gatherers, they stayed for centuries, returning to this land again and again. It was more than survival, it was sacred. Modern ley line maps show no intersection here, yet the energy pulses strong. Have the lines shifted, or are we just now remembering how to...
See, people in that region, they had to move around. The storms come through. You ever lived in Louisiana? You ever lived in Florida? Have you ever lived in Mississippi? Now, when it rain out there, it's thunder. You ever heard of anybody swimming in the Mississippi River? No. Hey, they scared of the Mississippi River. Because the Mississippi River, that's the Red River. Clay mud. They got catfish as big as a car in there. You see what I'm saying? Now, they need to rewrite history. Now, every time you talk about rewriting history, somebody put on thing, oh, he talking crazy. What you mean? You saying, you know what I'm saying? You seeing. I'm showing you.
Feel the serpent's path beneath our feet. Older than Stonehenge, as ancient as some of Egypt's pyramids. Poverty Point, hidden in Louisiana, whispers of a forgotten past and a serpent's path carved into the land. Built between 1700 and 1100 BCE, this sacred site holds 6 massive ridges and Mound A, shaped like a bird.
In the early 1800s, an explorer came across an old Indian settlement just 15 miles from the Mississippi River. Intrigued by the area, he soon located the giant 72 feet high, 700 foot wide mound, now called Bird Mound. But it wasn't until the 1950s that aerial photographs of the location were taken.
When I was young, I used to say, what are all the mounds doing in Mississippi? All them mounds, a mound here, a mound there. I used to ask myself, what are them mounds? Now I realize, what are they? You know what I'm saying? All over.
Revealing an even larger and precisely constructed series of earthworks. The main feature of Poverty Point is without a doubt the C-shaped ridges, each between 50 to 80 feet wide and up to 6 feet tall. Over time, these ridges were worn down, but researchers believe they were once uniform and likely served as foundations for numerous dwellings lining the top. In total, Poverty Point...
See, that was going on. People was building their own stuff. See, when people, what shocked them, when they came to this new world, they seen all the buildings, how they were living, and they stripped them of everything. See what I'm saying? They don't want to talk about that, you know? Just like people in Louisiana, when they go to other states, people look at them as a Dominican. So now, this is what they trying to go at right here. This is the war they fighting right now. I'm just saying to you. Right here. This is how far they going with this. This is how far they've been fighting. They've been fighting each other all the way from this time, all these times here to that time. And all these people now, with some of them came to the United States and then overthrow the queen and king. See what I'm saying here?
come swiftly. For 6 days, a brutal attack by a faceless invader stains the soil red.
So that's when you had Persia running around scouring the earth. You had Persia running around. Then they had, you know what I'm saying? You got that in the Bible, but they put left stuff out too. You see what I'm saying? They was going to burn Athens down. That's what they wanted to do.
Those not butchered are enslaved. The aggressors are the heavy infantry of the mighty Persian Empire. They are called immortals. The victims are ready.
See, only piece they had, when they did make it to America, they did a Revolution War, the Civil War. Now they still fighting each other. They even stormed the Capitol and got pardoned. Hey, come on now, you seen it on live TV.
Residents of the island of Euboea in the Greek city of Eretria. 600 Persian warships had set sail on the Aegean Sea and swallowed every Greek island in their path. But Euboea is not their final destination. They're heading to Athens. The goal, total destruction.
They moved across, there's an island chain across the eastern Mediterranean in an island-hopping campaign, much like the United States did during World War II in Japan, of capturing small islands, turning them into logistics bases, and then finally being in a position where you could attack Athens.
Nothing stops the Persian war machine. From Eretria, they set sail for Athens.
You gotta realize, these people, a lot of them battled for land and places to stay for a lot of years of battling. The only peace they had, some of the peace they had, they thought they would get some peace when they came to the United States. But still, what they did was, the people that would help them, they took them out.
Each city is the size of Athens for breakfast. They are so confident of success that they load up their ships with marble along the way so they can build a victory monument once they burn Athens to the ground.
The Persian Empire is enormous. Its borders extend from the Indus River in India to the Nile River in Egypt.
Persia was the greatest empire the world had ever known, not only in geographic terms, but in manpower terms, millions and millions of people. Also, one of the highest cultures that the world had known, in everything from architecture to art, to writing, to design. Antigens in the Persian Empire than had ever existed in any empire before.
By contrast, Athens is merely one in a loose collection of Greek city-states.
What we now call modern Greece, you'd have to imagine at this time, was not really a nation, but comprised of a number of city-states, ranging all the way in the north from Macedonia down to Athens, Corinth, Sparta, all those states whose names pop up in history. Each city-state was a self-contained society, had its own lands, its own army.
But aboard his warship, the Persian commander Datis cares about only one of these city-states, Athens. He's so confident he'll be able to destroy this historic city, the only question in his mind is exactly how he'll destroy it.
He can either attack Athens directly from the sea, is one possibility. This is a bit difficult. Athens is walled, and an amphibious assault from the sea against opposition is pretty iffy business. So he decides not to attack Athens head-on, rather to pick a spot about 25 miles away from the city along his line of route, and to land there, and figured one of two things would happen.
Either the Greek army responds and comes out to meet him, or he would land, assemble his army, and simply march on to Athens from the ground. So given the choice between the land campaign or an amphibious landing of Athens itself, he chooses the land campaign.
Datis directs his fleet of 600 ships about 26 miles away from Athens, at Marathon. He moors his ships in Marathon Bay and disembarks on the skinniest beach. The Persians then make camp on the northeast side of the plain, next to the Great Marsh.
The Persian army is about to slam, but they're divided on how to prepare. Should they hunker down behind the city walls or march out to meet the Persians in battle?
Some in Athens believe that an open field battle against the Persians is suicide, but one Athenian disagrees. His name is Miltiades, and he has a personal history with the Persians.
Miltiades is a very interesting character. He comes from a prominent family in Athens, and when he's about 35, he takes over a Greek colony in Ionia on the edge of the Persian Empire. He rules there as a tyrant. This makes him very unpopular in Athens.
In the late 6th century BC, Miltiades' home on the Hellespont Peninsula is engulfed by the expanding Persian Empire. He's forced into military service. Now wielding a Persian sword, he must fight along his conquerors. The Persians soon spread north, cross the Danube River, and invade Scythia, modern-day Eastern Europe and Asia.
Miltiades was in charge of guarding the bridges across the Danube.
Jump back to right here.
In June 1812, the young United States declared war on the greatest power in the world, Great Britain. For 2.5 years, Americans fought against the British.
So now, they had to fight two people. They had to fight the natives, and they had to fight British. See what I'm saying?
Was in a death struggle with Napoleon Bonaparte on the continent of Europe and on the seven seas at the time. It was a world war that was going on. The only way that Britain could really curtail Napoleon's empire building was to cut off supplies from reaching Napoleon's troops. So they were stopping ships on the high seas, and this upset the United States a great deal.
If you carry goods for the French, you're on the side of the French. You cannot be neutral. The Americans are desperately trying not to take sides because they can make a lot of money by being neutral. And what they're finding is that neutrality has a cost.
In 1807, Britain began to issue a series of decrees to undermine American trade. All neutral ships trading with France had to stop in Britain first and pay a duty, or else the British would simply regard them as enemy. The enormously powerful Royal Navy seized hundreds of American ships. In fact, the British took more than ships and money. They seized men as well.
By 1812, the Royal Navy had been at war for 19 years. They had over 120,000 men in service, and they're losing 10, 15,000 men a year. If they run out of sailors, they'll lose the war at sea, and they'll lose the war.
When they stopped an American ship and discovered a sailor with a British accent, if he looked like he was a prime sea hand, he would be impressed into the Royal Navy.
In the first years of the 19th century, Britain impressed over 6,000 sailors from American merchant vessels. Then, one June afternoon in 1807, just off the Virginia coast, the British ship Leopard demanded to board the U.S. Navy frigate Chesapeake, where 4 British deserters were serving in the crew. The Chesapeake refused. The British simply opened fire. They cannonaded the ship for 10 minutes, killing 3 sailors, wounding 18 more. The Chesapeake surrendered. The British came on board and took 4 men away.
The whole incident led to extremely difficult feelings, as you can imagine, between Great Britain and the United States. It was an example perhaps the most egregious example of this kind of high-handedness on the part of Great Britain that clearly the American public were not about to tolerate.
The British in no way really threatened our independence. They did what great powers always do when they are at war. They ran roughshod over the rights of a second-rate neutral power.
No war was declared in 1807, but British impressment and American resentment went on without stop.
In 1810, a new breed was elected to Congress. Men like Henry Clay of Kentucky and John C. Calhoun of South Carolina, both of whom had been born after the Declaration of Independence. So what was tolerable for older Americans was insufferable for the new generation. War for them was the only answer.
War is pushed by a Republican Party based in the center and south with the support of the Western Warhawks.
Aggressive. Hood is one of the rising stars in the Confederacy. His personal courage is legendary. At Gettysburg,
we grew up hating Sherman. I'm kind of returning to the old time, where growing up in Atlanta, we despised Sherman for what he did to us, our buildings, our homes, and our people.
Sherman didn't bring on the war, as far as he's concerned. He decided to disregard the Constitution. Now you're paying the consequences of it. And don't blame me for that. Don't blame me for that. It's not my fault. I'm here. I didn't start this, but by God, I'm going to end it.
Now this is the 40 acres and a mule situation. Now everybody didn't get 40 acres and a mule. It was the people of Atlanta. What happened at Ebenezer Creek? What happened at Ebenezer Creek? That's what happened. Ebenezer Creek. It issued them Field Order 15. But they took it back when Lincoln got assassinated. Field Order 15 issued the people of Atlanta the 40 acres and a mule. It wasn't for Louisiana people. It wasn't for Mississippi people. It was for Atlanta people. War of 1864, right here.
it is the spring of 1864. The American Civil War is entering its fourth year. 500,000 Americans are dead, 1 million more wounded. Sherman's men file through the outskirts of Atlanta. They decide to wreak their own vengeance.
Been done before. I mean, Sherman was cutting loose of his supply lines and going to live largely.
They find a whole lot of Confederate currency. So they end up stuffing money in their pockets so that they can, as they said, spend it when they go deeper into the South.
With them go thousands of slaves. By the time they're near Savannah, thousands of refugee slaves are following Sherman's army, seeking freedom and offering information on Confederate movements. Sherman is afraid they will clog the roads and slow down his army. 20 miles outside of Savannah, at Ebenezer Creek, one of Sherman's commanders orders a temporary bridge dismantled after the army crosses, but before any refugees can follow. Soon to...
See, that situation right there, that's where they got the 40 acres of the mule, from this situation right here, what happened at this creek.
To their horror, some Confederate cavalry, who have been shadowing Sherman's movements, come upon them. Many are clubbed or stabbed. Some swim across, others drown.
Sights of elderly men hobbling across as best they could, women with babies in arms trying to cross. It was one of those, it was a terrible tragedy.
Sherman's men enter Savannah. It is December 21st. In 37 weeks, Sherman's armies have marched more than 300 miles across Georgia. Atlanta, industrial hub of the Deep South, is in ruins. Bridges, livestock, factories, telegraph issues Field Order 15, what came to be known as the 40 acres and a mule plan.
The idea was to take 400,000 acres of these coastal rice and cotton plantations, divided up into 40-acre parcels.
Of freedom than he is about winning the war. 4 days after the meeting, Sherman issues Field Order 15, what came to be known as the 40 acres and a mule plan.
The idea was to take 400,000 acres of these
of freedom than he is about winning the war. 4 days after the meeting, Sherman issues Field Order 15, what came to be known as the 40 acres and a mule plan.
Okay, you do your own research. Don't go by what somebody's saying on YouTube, telling you to send some money to them, and they're telling you the truth. They gave that to the people of Atlanta, not the people of Louisiana, not the people of Mississippi. You see it right here. 40 acres and a mule was gave to the people of Atlanta, not in Louisiana, not Mississippi.
$400,000 acres of these coastal rice and cotton plantations, divided up into 40-acre parcels, and then distribute those parcels to the formerly enslaved people.
It didn't last long. Believing the land redistribution plan was too radical, Johnson revokes Field Order 15 within a year.
So the land that the freedmen had been working, that they had every expectation was going to be theirs in a few years, is suddenly taken away from them.
Sherman's main objective was always to restore the Union, not to free 4 million enslaved Americans. In the end, Sherman's march through Georgia accomplished both.
I think that's where that ambivalence comes from. There's
Why couldn't it be explained at the church? Why couldn't it be explained at the schoolhouse what really happened? You see what I'm saying? Like Homer the Placid. I talk about Rosa Parks. And she had a car. I'm just saying.
some who recognize that Sherman was just, in fact, doing his job, and that part of that job meant that they would benefit in some way, but not that he was necessarily
The enslaved people.
It didn't last long. Believing the land redistribution plan was too radical, the new President Andrew Johnson revokes Field Order 15 within a year.
So the land that the
Cotton, livestock, factories, telegraph lines, and hundreds of miles of railroads are destroyed.
Ask a black man for advice. What do you think we ought to do?
The African-American leaders tell Sherman that owning their own land is the only way to assure their freedom. But Sherman is far less concerned about freedom than he is.
Okay, the black leaders, they knew this. Why they didn't bring it out to the people? Hey, this is what happened. And everybody thinking, oh man, my 40 acres, you don't even own, ain't no 40 acres of mule for you. It's for the people of Atlanta. So the people of Atlanta should fight for their 40 acres in the mule because they got documents. Black leaders know about this. Look at them. Look at them. That was the leaders of that day.
About winning the war. 4 days after the meeting, Sherman issues Field Order 15, what came to be known as the 40 Acres and a Mule Plan.
The idea was to take 400,000 acres of these coastal rice and cotton plantations, divide it up into 40-acre parcels, and then distribute those parcels to the formerly enslaved people.
It didn't last long. Believing the land redistribution plan was too radical, the new President Andrew Johnson revokes Field Order 15 within a year.
So the land that the freedmen had been working, that they had every expectation was going to be theirs in a few years, is suddenly taken away from them.
Sherman's main objective was always to restore the Union, not to free 4 million enslaved Americans. In the end,
what they did that, when they did that, what they made the people do? They start leaving their land. What can they do? They evicted them. They had to scatter out. Now they had, you know what I'm saying? Go another place, New York. Go to the East Coast. Go to the West Coast. See what I'm saying? Push them out. That's 1800.
Sherman's march through Georgia accomplished both.
I think that's where that ambivalence comes from. There's some who recognize that Sherman was just in
who were following his military soldiers.
Of Savannah, with 150 guns and plenty of ammunition. Also about 25,000 bales of cotton. William T. Sherman.
In 37 weeks, thousands of refugee slaves are following Sherman's army, seeking freedom and offering information on Confederate movements. Sherman is afraid they will clog the roads and slow down his army. 20 miles outside of Savannah, at Ebenezer Creek, one of Sherman's commanders orders a temporary bridge dismantled. Thousands of refugee slaves are following.
See, when they dismantled that bridge, that right there gave them that 40 acres and a mule. This when they got them 40 acres and a mule behind that. Whatever happened at Ebenezer Creek, Ebenezer Baptist Church, hey, come on now.
Sherman's army, seeking freedom and offering information on Confederate movements. Sherman is afraid they will clog the roads and slow down his army. 20 miles outside of Savannah, at Ebenezer Creek, one of Sherman's commanders orders a temporary bridge dismantled after the army crosses, but before any refugees can follow. Soon, to their horror, some Confederate cavalry who have been shadowing Sherman's movements come upon them. Many are clubbed or stabbed. Some swim across, others drown.
See, that situation gave them the 40 acres and a mule. See what I'm saying? And they gave them 40 acres and a mule, and the new president, Georgia. See what I'm saying? And a lot of people ran to Brazil, a lot of people ran to Cuba, a lot of them ran away. And still in Brazil.
Within a year.
So the land that the freedmen had been working, that they had every expectation was going to be theirs in a few years, is suddenly taken away from them.
Sherman's main objective,
his military soldiers at camp.
It's probably the first time in American history in which, what do you think we ought to do?
the African-American Sherman that owning their own land is the only way to assure their freedom. But Sherman is far less concerned about freedom than he is about winning the war. 4 days after the meeting, Sherman issues Field Order 15, to be known as the 40 Acres and a...
So the land...
Sherman's main objective was always to restore the Union, not to be 4 million.
Part of that meant that they would benefit in some way. Not that he was necessarily personally invested or interested in what that outcome would be, what that outcome would be for them.
It was the most decisive 37 weeks in American history, forever changing who we are as a nation and redefining freedom. And the one figure who affected that outcome more than any other is also its most controversial. William General of the U.S. Army, and one of the most popular figures in America.
During Reconstruction, immediately after the war, a lot of white Southerners actually...
Military soldiers, the king.
It's probably the first time in American history in which a white man asked a black man for advice. What do you think?
Now, see what I'm saying?
The African...
Now, a lot of people don't even know. They run around saying something different. They say, you're lying. It's the truth. It's right here. It's right there. So put that on your t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? See, now, you gotta do your own research on things. You can donate to the Georgia Public Broadcast. Support that the work. You know, you can go direct to the horse's mouth. You know, you ain't gotta be what somebody else said. You know, do it yourself. You got Rome from you live in a Roman society. You are. Because you got, look at this here. Let's check this one out. This one.
There were about 8,000 to 10,000 people living in California, mostly Mexican, Californios, and about 1,000 or so Americans, a couple hundred.
That will make him a legend. West may be stalled, but the United States still has a claim in the Northwest. Located between British Canada and Mexico's holdings, the Oregon Territory is 250,000 square miles of disputed land, claimed by Britain, Native Americans, and the U.S. Lewis and Clark planted a flag here 4 decades ago, but to truly own it, the U.S. needs settlers, and that's a problem.
Americans really didn't know how to make it to Oregon. They were aware that there was very fertile farmland there, but no one was exactly sure how to make it there. And the entire prospect of traveling all the way across the nation was understandably daunting.
So in 1842, the United States Army sends a lieutenant from the Topographical Corps. His name is John C. Fremont. His mission, map a route from Missouri to Oregon that wagon trains of pioneers can safely travel.
John C. Fremont is actually an illegitimate son. He's born in poverty. He gets a mentor who actually goes on to become Secretary of War, who gets him a job surveying on the upper Mississippi River. Fremont was vainglorious, arrogant, extreme.